following is from a cooperative project for acquiring skills essential to learning.
You finally made it.
Uncle Walter.
Boy, someone sure is anxious to do a little fishing.
I can hardly wait. I brought all my best gear. I'm ready to catch anything.
You sure seem to be. Well, I tell you what, we'll try out the fishing hole first thing tomorrow morning, right after breakfast. How's that?
Great.
Good. You know, your Aunt Harriet and your cousin Howard are really anxious to see you, so let's go on in the house and we'll get you settled in. Then you come down.
Good morning.
Good morning, sleepyhead.
Where is everybody?
Oh, your Aunt Harriet went into a cow auction.
Really?
And that means that I'm going to be doing all the chores today, so I'm afraid I won't be able to take you fishing today. But Howard can.
I'm not much of a fisherman, Susie, but it sure beats doing chores. Now eat your breakfast so we can go fishing.
Yes, sir. Howard, what are you going to do with that balloon?
I'm gonna let it go near the pond.
What for?
That's how I test air patterns. Here, let me show you. See, I let this balloon go and air currents take it away. If I'm lucky, the person who finds the balloon will return this card to me.
Is it kind of like putting a message in a bottle and throwing it out to sea?
Yeah, sort of. I've got this big map in my lab. I mark where I let the balloon go and where it landed. That's how I discovered the different air patterns that are around the farm. Someday I hope to learn how to predict weather changes by knowing these patterns.
That sounds neat. I didn't know that air could make patterns.
Oh, sure. Nature's full of patterns. All different kinds. Some are hard to find and some are easy. Look at this.
Tree-going patterns.
Right.
Howard, look at this web. Isn't that a pattern?
Sure. That spider spins the same type of web over and over. If you know the spider, you can predict the pattern of its web.
Really? I'll bet there are lots of patterns out here if you hunt for them.
Mm-hmm. It's only a few more minutes. Just over the hill and there it is.
I hope I like it.
I'm sure you'll like it. They won't hurt you. They always gather at the salt blocks. You know, we've been putting salt out here for years.
That's another pattern. The cows come to the salt blocks every day. Wow! I bet we could find a lot of different kinds of patterns around the pond.
Hey, forget patterns. All we need to find is a lot of fish, remember?
Oh, right.
Come on, fish. Where are you?
I think I found them.
What?
Come here and look at this. Those look like fish bones, don't they? I think the pond's polluted. We saw some dead fish.
And some dead plants, too.
Did you observe anything else?
Well, some plants had brown leaves.
It's strange, Dad. Everything else looked great. There were plenty of frogs and turtles, and the water looked nice and clear.
I still think it's polluted.
Well, until I know for sure, I can't take a chance restocking the pond.
Howard, maybe we could find out what's gone wrong with the pond.
Who, us? How?
We could hunt for more clues, you know, see if we could find a pattern.
Like detectives?
Why not?
This is an easy test. It measures the density of the water, whether it's normal or not.
What's that have to do with finding pollution?
Watch. This cube measures 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. And it weighs 1 gram.
Now, when I drop this cube into the beaker, it should displace the same volume of pond water. Gee, that's funny.
What? What? Have we found anything?
I'm not sure. I better try it in the other samples. See, this cube is supposed to float exactly even with the water's surface. But it seems to be slightly higher. It could mean that there's something else in the water. Something more dense than the water. Or it could mean
That we didn't do the experiment right?
there's hardly any difference. I don't know whether to pay any attention to this or not. Maybe some phosphates got into the pond. Dad fertilized the back pastures last fall.
What would that do?
Pond algae. Grows too fast. Chokes the pond. Steals all the oxygen from the fish. They smother to death.
This water looks clear. No sign of algae.
Well, I can't think of any other tests that would fit the clues.
Howard? What kind of weather did you have last winter?
Oh, it was real cold. We had to give the cows extra hay, and even the pond froze over.
Do you think that could have killed the fish? Could you please tell me whether fish can freeze in a pond?
Well, if the pond averages at least 2 meters deep, then freezing probably wouldn't hurt the fish.
I still don't see how this will work.
I'm able to raise or lower the fishing line by moving it through a pulley, which is attached to the balloon. The flags on the line show 1 meter length, and there's a sinker on the end. We can tell the depth of the pond by watching how far the line goes into the water. How deep does it need to be?
About 2 meters.
It's 1.5 meters deep here.
Let's try somewhere else.
Two meters. I'll figure out the average depth. It wasn't winter. The pond's deep enough.
I don't understand this. There must be a pattern. The pond seemed okay last fall, but the fish are dead this summer. Some plants are dead, some have brown leaves, but some are just fine. It looks like pollution, but other things are still alive. Frogs, turtles, bugs. Then there's the pollution tests we did. Am I missing something? How do these clues fit together? Where's the pattern? Howard, when you were in the 5th grade, did you play the food chain game? You know, some kids pretend they're hawks and chase other kids who play the frogs, and the frogs go after a whole bunch of kids who buzz around as flies?
No, but I played a gorilla in a school play once.
Cute, Howard. What I'm getting at is that maybe something happened to the food chain of the fish. That could be suspect number 3.
What could have happened?
I don't know. What's in the food chain of fish?
I think the big fish eat the smaller fish, which eat the smaller fish, which eat the little plants, the algae.
That's it! Remember our experiments? There were no algae in the pond samples. I bet the food chain broke and the fish starved to death.
But what killed the algae? Anyway, there still should be some big fish left in the pond, even if the algae is gone. Bass can eat frogs, too, and there's still plenty of frogs around.
Rats! Well, somewhere there's a pattern. Too bad I have to go home tomorrow.
It must float even. But it must float even.
The big fish eat the smaller fish, which eat the algae. But the algae is dead. So what killed the algae? Was it the same thing that killed the big fish? Susan, hunt for the pattern. Put things together. Susan. Susan.
Susan, breakfast.
I'm gonna miss Susan. Can she come back next summer?
I don't see why not.
How did the pond investigation go?
No luck. But we had fun trying.
Thinkabout is supported by state and provincial agencies working through the Agency for Instructional Television. Together, serving education.